All right, welcome in, welcome in. M.I.M.S University, fired up and excited. I hope everybody had a great holiday, great Christmas holiday. Look, we are going into 2025. Okay, 2024 is over, and there are certain things that you need to understand. There's a certain way of thinking. There are certain actions that you need to be taking as we move into 2025 because it begins. Everything begins in 2025. It's going to be one of the most pivotal years ever. Okay, it's going to set a precedence. It's going to be one of the most volatile years ever, and it's important that you go into 2025 with a little more education. Okay, it's important that you go into 2025 with a greater understanding of the monetary system as it existed. Okay, so you can appreciate what's coming to the monetary system as we move forward. Okay, the old system is out of here. Okay, this debt-based fiat monetary system, this legacy system is over with. Okay, we're entering into a whole new monetary system, and it's important that people understand it because a lot of people are going to go into 2025 with a 2024 and prior mindset. They're going to go into 2025 not understanding what's really going on, what they should be doing, and the biggest thing is that people can never appreciate the solution until they understand the problem. Okay, you have to understand the problem that has been playing out throughout history, why we are where we are right now, and where we're going, so you can do something that you never could have imagined for you and your family. So you can put yourself in position to not only prepare and build and secure your wealth, but create massive generational wealth in the process. And so I wanna kind of touch on, right? I saw somebody sent me this video, and I said it's a great video to talk about. So I wanna play a little short video. We're gonna pause it in between. I want to talk about some things in this video to kind of fill in some gaps, help people get a little perspective on where we are, what we're going and where we're going and things that you want to do like right now. And I can't express enough, like education is so critical right now. The right education is so critical right now in regards to the monetary system. Okay. Because I'm telling you right now, things are going to move very, very fast in 2025. Things are going to move very, very fast in 2025. And you need to have been ready and prepared now. Okay. I've already told people by the time Trump gets in office, you need to have your bags packed. Okay. You need to have your asset. You need to have the silver or especially the crypto. Okay. You need to have these assets. Okay. Let me start off and let's play this video. We're going to talk about it. But look, folks, this video I'm getting ready to play, they're going to put a disclaimer in the beginning. Obviously, this is for information and education. This is not any hate towards any group or people, but it's just to expose the monetary system throughout history. And I kind of want to tie that into Trump. When I watch this video, to me, Trump is like a present day Julius Caesar. And you're going to see why I say that. So let's play this, and then we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to kind of, fill you guys in the best that I can on the Federal Reserve, okay, in this private banking system that we have now and why it's been to our detriment and why it's important that you start to learn about blockchain and crypto and hold real money, constitutional money, God's money, physical silver, and gold. So let me pull this up here, okay? Short disclaimer, obviously you can see there on the video because it does talk about why was Hitler against central banking. I'm referencing this video because we're talking about central banking and we're talking about the monetary system, which affects everybody. Okay. So in no way am I or the maker of this video defending or promoting Nazi ideology or engaging in any hate speech. This video is to display an important event in Germany's economic history and showing examples throughout history of the same pattern. This is purely an educational video with absolutely no opinion on the matter. So let's start it out.
Hitler and the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or better known as the Nazis, viewed the charging of interest, particularly in banking, as immoral for several reasons. Hitler believed that this was usury, which is defined as the illegal action or practice of lending money at unreasonably high rates of interest. The Nazis increased state control over the banking sector and abolished all forms of private banking.
So usury, really quickly, lending out money at unusually high interest, okay, What do we have today here? I want you, when you're watching this, I want you to correlate it to what we have today.
So why was Hitler so deeply against private banking? Aristotle said, "Men called bankers we shall hate, for they enrich themselves while doing nothing." The money system of the Roman era are divided into three time periods: the Copper Age, the Silver Age, and the Gold Age. In the early days of the Roman era, the first form of money used was the cow. This was known as the barter system. People used to exchange cows for other goods and services. As time went on, the Romans took to use lumps of copper or bronze instead of cattle. These lumps were irregular in size and shape and were called "ais rude," which translates to rough metal. These lumps had to be weighed for each transaction. Using this monetary system, Rome became one of the most prosperous cities in the ancient world. The rough copper was eventually replaced by bronze and was stamped and issued by the Roman treasury in the form of ingots weighing 3.5 pounds. This money can be considered as an early example of the successful use of fiat money. Many economists argue that fiat money, as long as it's issued by a government and not private bankers and is protected against counterfeiters, is the safest form of money. Non-fiat money, in contrast, has the serious drawback that whoever sets the price of gold and silver, for example, private bankers, can control the nation's economy. Meyer Amschel Rothschild once said, "Permit me to issue and control the money of a nation, and I care not who writes its laws."
So this is obviously, people know about the Rothschilds, and when we're talking about the Federal Reserve and we're talking about central banking policy, this is a name that people should know. And what they understood is that they didn't care who writes the nation's laws. They didn't care who made the laws. They understood that they can control the nation and the people through the monetary system, through the money supply. Okay. And so I want you to think about that as you are watching this and as you're understanding what's going on in society today, and who is the real, what is the real problem that we have. And also, we're going to talk about the solution.
Up until 300 BC, with this system, there was unprecedented increase in the public and private wealth of the Romans. And here's the most interesting part. Throughout all of the wars that occurred throughout this period, there was zero inflation.
Now, I found that very interesting. Did you catch that? That there was zero inflation. They had wars and everything else, but because they had a sound money system, okay, there was zero inflation. People don't realize, and most people are realizing today, just how devastating the inflation is and how much worse it's going to get. What we're seeing here, not only just in the United States, but across the world, and all of this ties to the present bank and monetary system, and it affects everybody. It doesn't matter your color, doesn't matter your race, doesn't matter, all these dividing lines that they try to separate us on. It doesn't matter. This affects everybody. But we can see that there is a way to have a functioning monetary system without inflation.
Then came the Silver Age. This was when money lending became common practice in the Roman Empire. At this time, Julius Caesar was the leader of the Roman Republic. On his return to Italy in September 45 BC, Caesar found the streets and cities crowded with homeless people who had been forced off the land by moneylenders and land monopolists. 300
So the banking system, right? The present banking system had left people poor, and it took their land and their houses. Okay. Now, when I correlate that to today, I think about 2008 and everything else, where we're seeing right now people are straddled with credit card debt, home loan debt, student loan debt, all kind of debt. They're losing their houses, and a lot of people are homeless and poor on these streets. So here's Julius Caesar sees this, right? And let's see what Julius Caesar does.
100,000 people had to be fed daily at the public granary. Usury, aka unfair money lending, was flourishing with disastrous consequences. The moneylenders were charging interest rates as high as 48% per year. At that time, there were two main political parties. The Optimates, centered around nobility, the Senate, and the privileged few, and the Populares, who represented the citizens. Caesar immediately assumed leadership of the Populares. According to
So Caesar, and I like to correlate him to Trump, or Trump correlated to Caesar, he was the popular. So we talk about the popular vote, right? The popular president. Trump was the people for the. Caesar was like the leader for the people. And we look at where Trump is, right? And right now he's a leader for the people. And what is Trump saying? He wants to eliminate income tax and social security tax and things of this nature, right? And going against the present banking system. So let's look what happens.
the book Sketch from Roman History, quote, Caesar fully understood the evils of usury and how to counter them. He recognized the profound truth that money is a national agent created by law for a national purpose, and that no classes of men should withhold it from circulation so as to cause panics. Julius Caesar introduced many different laws and regulations to fight usury, one of the most significant being that the total interest charged could never exceed the capital loaned. These policies and changes.
Listen to that part. The total interest charge can never exceed the capital loan. Do you realize that everybody who buys a house today is paying more than what the house was actually worth? When you go buy a house right now, you're paying for a house and a half. Okay? And Julius Caesar time, he said, no, that's not right. Okay? You shouldn't be paying more than what you borrowed in interest. Right? And so here we have, once again, when we're looking at what has been going on throughout history, even with Kennedy and a lot of presidents here in the United States, where they've tried to take away the power of the private central bank, the Federal Reserve, because they realized that they were enslaving the nation and its people through debt and interest. Okay? Usury. This is something that has been going on through time and history. And we've had people and presidents who come to change that. And then you see what's been taking place throughout the world, and you realize what this whole thing is about, right? So let's see what happens to Julius Caesar. And I'm looking at this strictly on a monetary basis, okay? You know, there are some things that people obviously might not like about Julius Caesar. I'm not talking about those things. We're just focusing on right now the money part of this history.
Changes enraged the moneylenders. They couldn't let this stand. On March 15th, 24 BC, Julius Caesar arrived at the Senate building unarmed, having dismissed his military guard, who had previously been by his side at all times. Surrounded by 60 conspirators, Caesar was stabbed to death 23 times. After Caesar's death in 27 BC, just 3 years later, the Roman Empire adopted the gold standard.
So they killed Caesar. The Senate, you see who killed Caesar, right? Not the people. It wasn't people that killed Caesar. And when you look at Trump and what Trump is saying and what Trump wants to do, okay? And then what has been happening with Trump? Assassination attempts and things of the like. And so I make that correlation on the money side. Trump said we're going to be the
And once again, the practice of usury became widespread. The decline of one of the greatest empires in history can be traced back to this very practice of unfair money lending by a few wealthy families. The empire had now switched to the gold standard, which was extremely difficult to sustain. The gold coin was incredibly rare in Rome, with just a few mines in all of Europe at the time. Gold had to be imported from the east, requiring a
Hold on, I'm gonna rewind that. I'm gonna rewind that back a little bit. Might be having some technical difficulties. Hold on a second.
very practice of unfair money lending by a few wealthy families. The empire had now switched to the gold standard, which was extremely difficult to sustain. The gold coin was incredibly rare in Rome, with just a few mines in all of Europe at the time. Gold had to be imported from the east, requiring a large and expensive army to do so, which led to continuous conflicts at the empire's borders. Since this gold was so rare, regular families began struggling to survive and were forced to turn to the moneylenders. Knowing they had the economy in their pockets now, the moneylenders started charging even more interest on the loans, draining the populace and accumulating all of the wealth in the hands of a few. Since nearly all of the wealth was concentrated in the hands of a few,
You said that the money lenders started charging even more interest. Okay. I want you to. The reason it's going to help you correlate because when you understand what's been going on in America in this country here for so long with ballooning debt crisis that we have, the national debt, the student loan debt, the corporate debt, the personal debt, credit card debt. This was enriching the banks. This was enriching the money lenders. This was enriching the system of slavery, financial servitude. Okay, because people have to understand, the more paper they print, the more debt there is. The more debt there is, the less value of the money in circulation, but also the interest that comes along with that debt. And that is what the Federal Reserve does. So when you had the scamdemic and they printed trillions of dollars, 2008 bailed out the banks. And more throughout history, they've created mechanisms for them to not only create more debt, which gave them more power and influence under the guise of, prosperity, right? But it allowed them to not only devalue the debt, right? But it also allowed them to enslave the people through interest, right? That usury. So this is why when I talk, I tell people all the time, the public enemy number one is not China. It's not Russia. It's not Iran. Public enemy number one to the people, to the masses, is central banks. It's the Federal Reserve. But it's important that people understand this because we're going into a whole new. We heard the voice, but not you. Somebody say y'all can hear me now. Okay, back then, but the audio is working now. Okay, I hope. But the new financial system that we're going into. Okay, because the problem is that if you don't understand, the history is doomed to repeat itself. So if you don't understand what we're going into right now, you might accept a CBDC if that's the case. You might accept their UBI. You don't realize what you're looking at when they say, well, we're going to print more money and we're going to do this and that. Now, when you're educated, you realize, well, hold on, where is this money coming from? How does this affect the value of money in circulation? Oh, what is the interest on this money that we're printing? How is this sustainable? Because this is affecting people's ability to maintain their standard of living. Okay, that's what it's coming down to.
The wealth couldn't be circulated or invested in productive activities. This lack of investment and circulation of money led to little to no growth in the Roman economy from then onward. Why? Because very little money was available for activities like trade, infrastructure development, and military expenditure, all of which have positive impacts on economies.
So if you caught that piece, okay, you might gotta, come back and rewind it a little bit, right? But if you caught that piece, they talk about little money in circulation. And remember, we get our money, okay, from the Federal Reserve. But the problem is that when the Federal Reserve gives us money, they devalue the money in circulation, but now they add more to the debt. And then we have to pay that money back at interest, and then we're taxed on it on top of that. This is why Henry Ford, and I'll paraphrase what he said, but he said that if the American people ever understood the present banking and monetary system, there'll be a revolution by tomorrow morning. This problem has been allowed to continue to exist, but it's coming to an end. It's coming to an end. But the Federal Reserve issues the debt. We call it money. Okay? When they enter money into the system, if they don't enter money into the system, then you have a liquidity crunch. You have a credit crisis. There's no money in the system, the market collapses, right? The economy crashes because you need money. But if where we're getting money from is from a private central bank, and that we have to pay that back, and then we have to pay it back with interest, and then the money that they're giving us is losing value the more that they print, and then we're taxed on it. Now you see why wars were fought. Okay? Now you see why the Revolutionary War was fought. The Revolutionary War was not fought because of tea and taxes like we were taught in school. The Revolutionary War was fought because the colonists didn't have the ability to issue their own debt-free, interest-free money, their own debt-free, interest-free notes. That's what the war was about.
In the later stages of the empire, these economic issues, compounded by usury, were accompanied by political instability, invasions, and a decline of public morale and civic responsibility. The combination of an economy crippled by debt, concentration of wealth in the hands of a few, and external pressures eventually led to the collapse of the Western Roman Empire in 476 AD. Now we know how usury affected the Roman Empire, but this wasn't a singular phenomenon. Usury
Now, he talks about usury was a collapse of the system. You know, when people talk about the collapse of the United States, right? They talk about the collapse of the financial system. They talk about the collapse of the dollar. Is the dollar going to collapse? You know, how is that going to affect us? Can we just and technically, what most people don't understand is that the United States can just print as much money as they want because the Federal Reserve is the one who creates the money. So they can always pay off their bills. They can always pay off the debt by just printing more money. But what they can't guarantee is the purchasing power of the money in circulation, right? And so what we're seeing is when you talk about Rome collapse, these are some of the factors and variables why Rome collapsed. But it's the same thing that we're seeing today: unsurmountable debt. The interest. Listen, right now, okay, right now we're doing $1 trillion every 100 days on the national debt. $1 trillion. Okay. And understand something. The more reasons that the government creates to print money, the more that rises. The more the Federal Reserve steps in here and manipulates interest rates, the more that the more the devaluation of the currency, right? So you have the Federal Reserve and the government with horrible monetary policy, devaluing the currency, stealing the purchasing power away from the people and making it harder for them to maintain their standard of living. But this is something, once again, that has been going on throughout history, and it's important that people understand that, because this system is coming to an end, but we're going into a new system. And if you don't get educated on blockchain and crypto, if you don't hold real money, physical silver and gold, okay, you're going to get wiped out.
Usury has been the driving force to enslave and indebt the people of an economy every single time, leading to a great crash, which we call recessions or depressions. This system is still thriving today throughout the world, which is a major factor in why we see cycles of economic prosperity and failure. This is why the world experiences a recession cycle every 8 to 12 years. It wasn't just Rome, it was ancient Greece, medieval Islamic caliphates, Italy during the Renaissance period, late medieval England, the Spanish Empire, the Ottoman Empire, and hundreds more. Interestingly enough, pre-revolutionary France is also on this list, which is why Napoleon Bonaparte did everything he could to fight against usury. Senator Carter Glass, a former U.S. Secretary of the Treasury, said, quote, "With a gun, a man can rob a bank. With a bank, a man can rob the world."
And that's what we're seeing, folks. So they talked about all these leaders throughout history and what was going on, and they understood that the number one problem that they had was the money changers. It was the bankers, right? The usury. And he talked about, obviously, give a man a gun, he can rob, what did it say? He can rob somebody, but give the bank. Let's go back to that quote. It was a really good quote. Okay. With a gun, a man can rob a bank. With a bank, a man can rob the world. So when we look at who's in control of the present banking system, okay, when we look at what's going on with the world that is in debt right now through the IMF and the World Bank and their policies, and you look at the central banks, then you see, now we can point the fingers at what's the real problem. Because when we look at even the wars, all wars are bankers' wars. The bankers fund both sides of the war. They don't care who wins. They're funding both sides, because the more that their product is used, okay, the richer they become, and the more interest they charge. Right? So this is the whole thing about that monetary history that we need to get to. So let me finish playing this out.
Gun, a man can rob a bank. With a bank, a man can rob the world. We can even see the effects of usury in the 21st century as well, during the 2007 banking crisis. Under President Clinton's administration, there was a strong push to increase home ownership in the United States. This led to the National Home Ownership Strategy, aiming to make it easier for more Americans to own homes. To achieve this goal, lending standards were lowered, meaning banks and other financial institutions were allowed, and in some cases encouraged, to give home loans to people who, under normal circumstances, might not qualify because of their income, credit history, or other financial reasons. The government introduced incentives like $8,000 tax credit for home buyers and low introductory interest rates on mortgages, known as teaser rates, that would significantly increase after a couple of years. With these policies, housing prices in the US grew over 120% from 1996 to 2007. On the surface, it seemed as if the economy was booming and everyone was getting richer, but that wasn't true.
Nope.
In reality, the ratio between the price of houses and the average household income became worse and worse, making it nearly impossible for the average American family
Yep.
to afford a home. Financial institutions then began creating complex products such as collateralized debt obligations and credit swaps.
Mm-hmm.
To make this easy to understand, let's say you're in the shoes of a high school kid. Now, you want to borrow a game from your friend, but usually your friend only lends games to people he knows will take good care of them and return them on time. One day, he decides he's going to relax his rules for who he lends the games to. Now, even the people who have a history of losing or damaging games can borrow them. In the real world, with banking, this is exactly what happened with home loans. Banks, like your old high school video game lender, usually have extremely strict rules about who they give loans to. Now imagine there's a school fair where they're selling some books. To encourage more students to buy, the school offers a special deal. If you buy a book, you get some of your lunch money back as a reward. This is a tax credit. It's a benefit given to encourage a specific action like buying something. In the housing market, the government offered an $8,000 tax credit to people who bought homes. This was like giving them a bonus for buying a house, making it more attractive to buy one. Then there's the concept of teaser rates. Imagine you join a new club at school and they tell you the first 2 months are super easy and fun. But after those 2 months, the club activities become much harder and require more time. A teaser rate is like that easy beginning. It's a very low interest rate offered when you first get a loan, like for a house, which makes the loan seem easy and affordable. However, after a couple of years, this rate increases significantly, making the loan more and more expensive in the long run. So in summary, during this period, banks were like a friend who was less careful about who they lent to, and the government was like a school, encouraging students to buy gadgets by offering incentives. The teaser rates were like a club that's easy to join at first, but gets much tougher later on. All these factors combined to make it easier for people to get home loans is the direct reason contributed to the financial crisis. When many
Yep. There's all facts. And when we look at today, right? And now in hindsight, 2020, people realize that was the case. It was a scam. It was set up by your politicians, okay, and the presidents at that time, and your politicians, in collusion with the banks. Because guess what? A lot of these politicians, they're now multimillionaires. Look at Nancy Pelosi. A lot of these people have been living off the titty of the government, okay, milking the people. They're out of touch. They're working with the corporations, and they're benefiting massively. They're doing all kind of insider trading. We know what Nancy Pelosi and others are doing and what they've been doing this whole time. And so now they create a bill and they say, well, we got to make it look like we're helping the people. So we're going to give you a tax credit so we can encourage you to go out and get into debt and get this loan because the banking system wants to create more money and wealth for themselves. And these bankers and CEOs on Wall Street need a bigger bonus this Christmas. So it seems like this is that old trick. They give something with one hand and they take with the other. So it seemed like, oh, this is a great policy. We're going to help people get homes. We're going to help them afford homes. We're going to create we're going to print money. We're going to give them teaser interest rates. So we're going to make it seem like the interest rate is low, you don't need all this and that. And then the interest rate rises up. The housing prices are rising. Now look at housing prices right now. People can't afford the house right now. People can't afford the house right now. Look at the inflation in housing right now. When Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum said you will own nothing and be happy, they meant it because they got the private hedge funds and corporations right now buying up all the real estate anyway. They want you to rent. They don't want you to own. So they create the problem. Then they wait for your reaction and then they create the solution. So that's the problem. The problem is that we're expecting the same people who create the problem to provide the solution for us. Our government, in collusion with the government, whatever corporation, however technical you want to get, okay, they were in collusion with the banks and the financial industry. They profited, okay? They profited from the exploitation of the people's ignorance of the monetary system and how money and loans and interest work. And in that same time, they're profiting from a system. They're fleecing and scamming the public. And then in the process, they're creating bubbles in the economy. And they're devaluing the dollar. They're devaluing the purchasing power that you're working so hard for. This is what they don't want you to understand. This is why they always create so many distractions. They got you focusing on celebrities, entertainment. They got you focused on drones flying in the sky, but they don't want you. They got you protesting about the police. They got you protesting about everything else except the main problem that we have in society. And I'm telling you, the money system affects everything. The monetary system affects the schooling. It affects your environment. For people who love the environment, you need to follow the money system. People who love the schooling system, you need to follow the money system. You're concerned about the healthcare system, you need to follow the money system. Whatever it is that is your passion that you think is more important than money, money has a role into it. And then when you figure out what is it that we call money and how is this money affecting what it is that you have a passion for, then you will want to go against that system. You will say, why is it my government is in collusion with a private central bank when we as a people can create our own debt-free, interest-free money? We are the government. We are the government. Why are we having a private central bank issue our money when we can issue our own debt-free, interest-free notes? And when I said, like I mentioned Kennedy earlier, when you look throughout history, presidents who have tried to do that, you see what has happened. And even throughout history with the video, we're talking about Julius Caesar and everything else. Let me continue.
Many of those people couldn't pay back these loans. This is usury at its finest. In the end, the American people were the ones who paid the price for the banks pulling these money-grabbing stunts. Because YouTube is so heavily regulated on these sort of topics, we can't directly talk about what Hitler did in his time in Germany. If you do want that, leave a comment, and we'll see what we can do about it in the future. Until next time.
So somebody, like I said, somebody said that to me, and I thought that was it was viable to bring up and talk about, because when we're looking at the problems that we have today, some people want to blame Obama, some people want to blame Trump, some people want to blame Biden, some people want to blame Bush, whoever. All the presidents, at this point in time, whether they wanted to be or not, they had to play their role, and it's the Federal Reserve that is in control of everything. It's the Federal Reserve that is the buyer and the seller of last resort. It is the Federal Reserve that issues the debt, that buys the debt, okay? And it's the Federal Reserve that is benefiting from all of this. They're benefiting from all of it. And so now what we have here, it's important that you understand, is now we have options. Now we have blockchain technology. Now we have smart contracts. Now we have the tools and resources to eliminate the middleman, eliminate the private central banks, and they don't want that. And they have their puppets in government that are working in collusion with them. Okay, the SEC with Gary Gensler, he's out of here. When you listen to what Trump is saying and what Trump wants to do, he's literally going against their system in every way. In every way that you turn, he's going against their system. You didn't hear any of the previous politicians talking about this stuff, saying they're going to do these things. You didn't hear them doing any of this. This is some things that Trump is bringing to the forefront, like Julius Caesar of his day. And look what is taking place right now. History is repeating itself. Okay? But it's important because right now we're in a pivotal point in history. We're at a very pivotal point in history. Okay? We're at a point where the time period that we're alive right now will be studied, debated, and talked about for centuries. I don't think people really grasp how significant the time period that you're alive in right now. And a lot of the things that you're doing, a lot of the things that you're focused on, a lot of the things that you're distracted with, these things will be detrimental to you if you don't focus in on the time and what must be done. There are certain things that you should be doing right now, and not even just money wise, health wise, education wise, everything else. But it's important, especially with the monetary system, because that affects every area of human activity when it comes to the money. So this is why I always start my live streams and I show these bricks. And I let people know that you need to get physical silver. It is the most undervalued physical asset on the planet. It's real money. It's God's money. It's constitutional money. It's money all over the world. It's been money since the times of Egypt, because you are going to see we are seeing, we are witnessing, we are experiencing the collapse of the dollar. It's not overnight. It's not a like that thing. We are literally living through the process of the collapse and the downfall of the Federal Reserve's note, the United States dollar, on a global international on scale. We're seeing that the OPEC nations are no longer required to buy oil for dollars. We're seeing that the dollar payment settlement is less than 50% now across the globe. Governments and central banks and people, industries, are dumping dollars. They no longer want to be under that weaponized system. So that has massive ramifications for people who rely on dollars here in the United States. And especially with inflation. Okay, that's going to be a lot of people are going to be talking about inflation. Even right now, the Federal Reserve has lost control of inflation. That's why you see the market going crazy like it is right now. They talking about inflation. We want to keep inflation at 2%. You realize what the Federal Reserve is saying when they say that we need to get inflation at 2%? People don't even realize it. They're saying that we need to confiscate your wealth 2% a year. Because if we confiscate too much, there's a problem. You might not like that. And we ain't going to be in control for too much longer. They're going to confiscate the purchasing power. It's inflation. Inflation is the loss in purchasing power of your dollars. Well, we need to keep it at 2%. That's our target. We don't want to devalue the currency too fast. We just want to devalue it a little bit. We want to boil you slow like the frog in the pot of water. We don't want to turn the temperature up on you too hot, too fast. We want to boil you slow. That's what they're saying. And so we watch them on the news and we watch them and say, and we just go along with it because you trusted your politicians. You expect somebody else. That's the problem. The problem is you expect somebody else to come save you. You expect that, well, hold on, this can't be true. And everybody's watching this, the Congress, the Senate, everybody's just going along with this. Oh, okay. But you don't understand that they're benefiting from it. It's to exploit you. So while they on TV and they testifying before Congress, it's a big show, it's a circus. And they testifying before Congress the whole time. They benefiting, they working together. They working it because you know why? Look just what happened. Let me break this down really quickly. You know what the Democrats are worried about right now? They're worried about Elon Musk because Elon Musk said he's going to spend a lot of money on an opposition when it comes down to re-election time. So you see how they changed their tune, right? It's the same thing with the Federal Reserve. It's the same. Who do you think has the money? These corporations, these institutions, and they've lobbied our government to where they've made corporations people. Money is a vote. Okay, they've literally usurped the people's power from them and gave it to the few. But people don't realize that. They really think they have a choice. But Trump is something different. And I like to tell people don't remember that Trump is not a politician. Trump was never a politician. He wasn't like really Democrat or Republican. He's not a politician. He's not a part of their system. Okay? They don't like him. They don't like him. Democrat and Republican, they don't like him. They want to take him out like how Caesar was taken out. Okay? And they want to get back on their little dog and pony show and taking over everything. But it's important that I talk about this and I say this stuff because I know a lot. I know a lot and I share a lot and I try to make it make sense the best that I can. And it touches those who are supposed to touch because not everybody is going to be able to tap in. Not everybody is receiving this information. Not everybody understands. Not everybody is listening. But I try to help people understand the best I can on this monetary and what they need to be doing. There's certain things you need to be doing. You need to save your money in silver and gold. It's so important that you save your money in physical silver and gold. It's how you're going to preserve your wealth. It's how you're going to grow your wealth as the dollar continues to lose its value and credibility across the globe. It's very important that you get educated in blockchain and crypto. You need to learn how to become decentralized. You need to learn how to get your cryptocurrency. Do not leave it on centralized exchanges like Coinbase and Crypto.com and Robinhood. You need to learn how to move your cryptocurrency, into your own decentralized, self-custody, non-custodial wallets. You need to know how to secure those wallets, your phrases that come with those wallets. You need to know how to create the trust lines to be able to interact with these assets on the blockchain, you need to know what decentralized exchanges to use. You need to know what different projects are in these ecosystems that you can take advantage of that are massively undervalued right now. Okay. A lot of the projects that we talk about in M.I.M.S University are ISO projects. Okay. Which is the standard for communication for global transmission of value, information, data, and things of that nature. Okay. The blockchain. Okay. So when I talk about XRP and the ecosystem of projects that are within XRP, when I talk about XLM and the ecosystem of projects that are in the Stellar blockchain, when I talk about XDC and we talk about H bar, oh my goodness, H bar, okay? When we talk about these projects and more, there are others, Constellation DAG, America's blockchain, okay? And others that are coming out, some phenomenal blockchains with some real potential, challenging, traditional layer ones and things of this nature. Um, some massive opportunity right now. This is the largest wealth transfer in history. The wealth of the wicked laid up for the righteous, the meek shall inherit the earth. Is a certain way you have to have the assets. You got to get the information. You got to plug in and follow the right people. You got to invest in yourself. You have to invest in yourself, and that's investing in your education. That's how you invest in yourself. You invest in your education, you get your education up, and then you invest in the assets that are going to preserve and grow your wealth. But if nobody tells you, you won't know. And you won't know unless somebody tells you, right? But the thing is, nobody's coming to save you. You're not gonna have CNBC, MSNBC, ABC. They're not gonna do a presentation like this for you. They're not gonna help you understand inflation and what's been going on throughout history and why central banks are public enemy number one, and why you need to save in gold and silver, and you know uh, why you need to get into blockchain and crypto technology, and helping you understand the policies that are coming out that are positive for those assets and for that technology. Okay. Helping you understand it and make the correlation so it can make sense to you, so you can better leverage yourself into these assets and opportunities. Because once you get that education up, you reduce your risk, you reduce your anxiety when you bring up your education. That's why I can, this is I posted this earlier. I said, look, I can tell you all some of the best cryptocurrencies to buy. But if you don't understand the technology, if you don't understand, the developments, if you don't understand why to buy, it's not really going to do you any good. It's not. You're just going to end up selling at the wrong time. You're going to just end up not leveraging into the asset the best way that your spirit will tell you to leverage based on what you know and now know about the project and in the ecosystem. And I'm telling you, the stuff that I'm putting into M.I.M.S University and what we're sharing and stuff that's coming out, it really helps you solidify. Okay, wow, this is bigger than I thought. I didn't realize that the person who owned this is actually a part of that, and they're doing this. I didn't realize that these markets are getting ready to get tokenized on this blockchain. I didn't realize the derivatives market was already getting tokenized on. I didn't realize when you start to realize the movement of money. Because what we're looking at here is we're talking about a reset and a shift of the whole financial system. We're talking about everything moving onto the blockchain and tokenization of assets. There are certain blockchains, there are certain projects, there are certain ecosystems that are going to be facilitating a massive amount and share of that volume and activity. And a lot of these projects are massively undervalued right now. A lot of these projects you need to be holding. I've already mentioned some of them. I didn't even mention the projects that are inside their ecosystem. Okay. It's not too late. It's not too late to take it, get into this space, and get educated. But we're coming up on, Trump being elected here, inauguration, being president. We're coming up with regulations getting ready to be passed. We're going to see regulations. Okay. We're going to see regulations in the crypto market. All right. We're coming up with ISO integration happening in March 10th. Okay. So a lot of other events, things are going to really, really start to pick up. Okay. So it's important that people not only understand the problem, which I highlighted a little bit today, and right, and exposing the number one problem, which is the dollar, which is the Federal Reserve, which is this debt-based fiat monetary system. Also want to highlight some of the solutions. Okay. Not everybody likes, technology, tech savvy and things of that nature. Look, I encourage you to, Take your time. This is why I put M.I.M.S University together, because I have the skill of helping people understand and articulate and put themselves in position. But at bare minimum, you need to get silver. At bare minimum, I'm telling you right now, this asset right here is going to do all-time highs in 2025. This asset right now is the most manipulated, suppressed asset on the planet. Physical asset. If you're looking for like that, what is that physical opportunity? What is that physical asset that I should hold that's massively undervalued, that's gonna appreciate significantly and put me in position financially that I couldn't have imagined because I accumulated the assets so early? In regards to physical, that's silver. Okay? There's no asset that's more undervalued and manipulated and suppressed as silver. You want to get physical silver. You have to save in silver. It's important. Okay? In regards to your savings. If somebody asks me, and I always say, what's the most undervalued digital asset on the planet? I say XRP. But I'm telling you right now, there's some projects inside the XRP ecosystem. There's some projects inside of the Stellar blockchain. Okay. There's some projects that you also want to be aware of and take advantage of that we talk about M.I.M.S University, and I put out there. That resource to be able to talk to somebody and have somebody that you can call, get on a private Zoom with, make it make sense for you, connecting the dots, connecting the neurons in your brain, put you in a better position to take advantage and position yourself, you know. So with that being said, man, I appreciate everybody, man. Like this out, smash that like button, like this out, share this out. This is the time, folks. We live in the largest wealth transfer in history right now. Don't get distracted. Forget the haters. You're gonna have some haters. You're gonna have people who want to bring drama to your life. You got people who, it's like crabs in the barrel. They don't want you to succeed. You might be excited about this information. You're gonna try and share it with somebody else, and they on a whole nother level, and they're gonna try to bring you down to their level. Don't let it happen. Okay? Don't let it happen. You are the bank now. Okay? You the hedge fund manager for your family. You the CEO. Of your private wealth fund, right? You the executive of your estate. You have to see yourself that way. You have to ignore all the distractions, because right now it's important that you get educated. You have to get educated on blockchain, these markets, DeFi. You have to understand this system right now, because I'm just telling you right now, 2020, we're getting ready to go in 2025. 2025 is here. It begins. 2025 is going to cement you financially. 2025 is going to cement you financially. And that could be good or bad. And unfortunately, a lot of people are not going to make it. A lot of people, I'm telling you, as much as I know, as much as I talk about now, there are people who still, that I know and I talk to, they don't save in silver. They get paid every week. I say, look, just put $30 and get an ounce of silver. Take $100 once a month and get an ounce of silver. People can't save $100 a month, get an ounce of silver. They don't. And as much as I try to tell them, even now I tell people, look, dollar cost average, do a reoccurring buy, get you some of these assets, some of these ISO projects, get them on a reoccurring buy, $25 a week. It don't take much, but the reason they don't do it is because they haven't took the time to get educated. That's why I tell you, education is the most important thing. Education is going to put that fire up under you to do what it is that you need to do to get to where you want to be. I like this. Alexander say, misery loves company. Don't let somebody else bad day become your bad day. Yeah. Misery loves company. People don't want you to win. People don't want you to succeed. And not only the people, but the system in itself. So put yourself in position to win, man. Put yourself in position to exceed. Tap in, get educated. MIMSuniversity.com. This is Ricardo Hamilton, Crypto Rick. M.I.M.S. Making it make sense. I'm gonna catch you guys on the next live stream. Look, tomorrow I got a phenomenal brother that is gonna we're gonna be on the show tomorrow. By the name of Antoine McBay. Okay, this brother is a gem in this space, a good heart, doing some really great work out here. And we're gonna talk about decentralized cloud computing. We're gonna talk about putting yourself in position to earn rewards in crypto every single day by owning a server, and just how valuable this opportunity is with servers, with decentralized cloud computing, and more. So I'll see you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m. So with that being said, lace up, let's get wealthy. I'm out. Peace.